Hello, and welcome to another special launch series on our Perspective program. My name is Edo State, and I'll be your host for this program today. Today we'll be looking at governance, more specifically e-governance, that today is becoming increasingly a buzzword around African nations. But we'll be looking at the possibilities of transforming technology with governance. There are many surveys, many statistics that point to the development of government enabled by technology. And all of them basically paint the picture of improved efficiency, improved effectiveness, more transparency when technology is adequately and effectively implemented. However, I would look at the 2012 UN e-governance survey just to put this into perspective. Despite the famed benefits of e-governance globally, we find that African countries are still lagging behind in many respects. Indeed, in the most recent survey, there were only 2 African countries in the top 100 as regards to the e-government adoption index. And these were Seychelles and Mauritius. The other countries are mainly Northern and Southern African countries. Nigeria finds itself at number 162. Not an enviable position, you'd agree with me. To discuss and analyze this issue with me today, we have the privilege of somebody who is in governance and who's right in the center of using technology to transform governance. And so we'll be taking a case study approach to take a factual look at the developments of e-governance in Nigeria today. And we'll also be touching on some developments across other African nations. There's no better person placed to discuss this issue with me today. We'll be looking at Edo State as a case study. We have with us the Managing Director and Chief Executive of the ICTA agency, the Information Communication Technology Agency of Edo State, Yemi Keri. Thank you so much, Yemi, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for finding time out of your very busy schedule. Yemi has had, prior to joining Edo State government, a long and eventful career in IT, multinationals, indigenous companies, and she's now answered the call to go into public sector to try and do something different. So welcome again, Yemi.
Thank you.
I'll start by asking you a fairly broad question, but I think an interesting one. What do you consider to be the key challenges in governance today across African nations?
In my opinion, the main challenge, as it were, would be the issue of leadership and management. The African continent is made up of 54 countries, and we all know that we are not the poorest countries, but we are the most undeveloped. So how is it that this has happened, and what are the issues around this? Would lead to our issues of the challenges in governance. Basically, different factors. One, I would say, is that because of the evolution of different cultures, various types of leaders have emerged from the African continent, from the traditional to the feudal to the emperors, military, and of course democracy rules. And as these various leaders have evolved in their own environments, they have had various challenges in governance and in governing the people. We know that the basic objective of governing the people is to give them security, is to give them good environment for socioeconomic development, and also to ensure they have very good welfare and outputs and good services from these socioeconomic development. However, various factors in the continent have allowed us to see the evolving of different types of governing, as it were, institutions. And so there is a lot of challenge that faces the leaders that we have in the continent. Traditionally, you know that for Africans, a lot of them, when they get into power, they don't want to leave. And it's the value system that transcends to this. The issue of power and absolute power, the issue basically of corruption, and the morals behind where we are coming from. And if we want to narrow down these, the governing in itself, you need a lot of information. You're talking about Mauritius and the Maldives, Seychelles, and you will see that they're very smaller countries.
Indeed.
And they have been able to gather enough data that will allow for the leaders to be able to manage the environment and the economy properly. And so we have a lot of things to do, particularly in Africa. A lot of catch-up to do if we want to go ahead with the issue of governance and if we want to be amongst the developing nations of the world.
Okay, so multifaceted challenges, there are quite a lot.
Various, quite a lot.
Would you say that they differ on the federal, state, local government levels? And just speaking specifically to your own role in the state government, what have been those peculiar challenges that you have faced?
Well, now we are coming to Nigeria.
Yes.
Federal, state, and local government. These are three different tiers of governance. And they all have their peculiarities. In Nigeria, for me, my own opinion is that the federal government, it's a bit too far away from the grassroots, which is the local government, to be able to dictate what is best for a local government. You know, my governor in particular, he talks about why do we have the Ministry of Lands? What in the federal, what is the responsibility of the Ministry of Land in the federal? Because the land is owned by all state governments. And if we look at that, we would see that the issue of our strategy, our planning, who we are even governing, comes to the fore. Recently, they were talking about gathering data. They were talking about, we're also talking in the same vein about the national ID card. Because you're talking about INEC and registration of people. Who is the leadership governing? That is one of the issues that we have that we do not know. You know, you hear various figures about population, 140, some people say 180, some people say 160. So who are these people? Now you also have, when I talk about management, how can a country with so many security agencies say that they are unable to account for about 30% of the crude oil on a daily basis in this country? Management. Accountability. When we talk about accountability, now there is so much limited information to the citizenry, such that we as the citizens are not able to, you know, question the federal, as it were. Now let me come down to the state level. In the state level, what are our issues? Almost the same. The issue of accountability, this issue of citizen participation in governance, the issue of allocation of resources, you know, and this will trickle down to the next level, local government, because these are the people that really have been the electorates that have put all these people in power. And we as the governing body are accountable to those people. But where is the information for them? So how does the man in a village in Akoko Edo question the Minister of Agriculture about his farm produce? Or how does he talk to the state government about the routes for him to gather his produce and bring out to the urban area? So there's no communication also. So there are various, you know, challenges in governance on the 3 different levels of governance.
I mean, that's an interesting analysis. You talked about distance for the federal government. You talked about common issues for federal, state, or local, which is around management and accountability and leadership and resource allocation. Quite a lot of things. What role does IT have in addressing those challenges? And just looking at Edo State specifically, what role has technology played in addressing some of these governance challenges in Edo State?
Okay. Let me start that saying that from the inception of the Oshomole administration, we understood that we wanted to use technology to further the governance of the state. And as such, the governor took a step in that direction to ensure that he had capable hands for the unit. It was a unit when we started. And over the years now, it has evolved to become an agency backed by law. And the strategy for him was that he needed to automate, first, the processes of governance. Secondly, he needed to understand who he was governing. He needed to use information to be able to plan the various strategies in the different sectors.
Okay.
And so our different initiatives have been skewed towards this end. And first, in Edo State, we have been able to identify, for instance, with the use of the biometric application, those in the formal sector of the state. We are going into the informal sector to understand where the different citizens reside. So that is the Citizens Identification Project. We have also started to use technology to further develop our educational system. I'm sure a couple of weeks back, a lot of people heard about the teacher who could not read. This was an outcome of trying to use technology to cleanse the educational. So let us even understand, after having taken the biometrics and known where these teachers are, let us look at their quality. Let us understand what kind of training we want to give to them to further their skills in training our children. Let us know exactly how long they have been in a particular school. And so that was what informed the exercise to revalidate the teachers. And we began to find out that the quality of our teachers was below average. And so this has formed, a way in which we are going to form a policy around teachers' engagement, now retraining and training of teachers, and how we're going to put them into the classrooms. So we have used technology for that. We have used technology in increasing our revenue. Revenue allocation from the federal cannot be relied on. We all know that crude oil is dwindling, and so we have to look for other economic sectors that would develop. So in Edo State, we are focusing on agriculture, we are focusing on technology, we're looking at entertainment. So these are the things that we're looking at to develop the economy of. And now we're trying to use technology to drive those sectors. We're training, we're doing a pilot scheme now. Edo College, for instance, we've put teachers there to train other teachers in technology, in the use of technology. We're going to start test running the e-learning platform, and see how the impact of it and measure it against other schools that have not done that. And then we'll see so slowly but surely we're using technology to further the governance of the state. Increment of revenue generation, the payee has been automated, so we know from the formal sector who is, how much we're expecting in a particular month. We're automating the indirect tax and the different taxes as well for income taxes from the different institutions, organizations, and businesses. We are implementing the geographic information system. This is going to help us really with our land use. It will help us also to understand where you have the different places of interest. I'll tell you, we've done about 3 or 4 communities in gathering data, and we find out that in a small community of about 2,000 people, you have about 70 churches. So what does that tell you? How many schools do we need in that area? We are trying to measure the crime rates in that area. We're trying to measure teachers' absenteeism in that area. So these are functions and outputs of the geographic information system that we're implementing. So we are mapping out places. In the use of technology, we have been able to say we want to manage education with technology. So we have the education management information system, where we are gathering data about all the pupils. We're starting from the secondary schools right now, because there are fewer than the primary schools, and so we're gathering their data, taking their biometrics, and we're trying to put this information on the portal, such that the parents can check on the students at the end of the project. What we're looking at is you can go online, look for your child, look for the courses they have done in a particular period. The ministries can use it to calculate how many female are in a particular sector, how many female children are going to graduate from SS3 or SS4 in a particular year. And so we can use those statistics to begin to measure and develop different policies. And most recently, what we have done also is that we want, we understand that democracy is about the people, the government of the people. And so we want a participatory government. So we have started off, our first leap was to invite the civil society, invite the academia, and we began to discuss, how do we share information on government? How many boreholes have we done in a particular area? What is it that you understand? You live in Ikobaoha. What are your peculiarities in that area? And we've been having this dialogue for well over 1.5 years with them. And from that, we have started to develop what we call the open data portal, because they all want to know how many schools in it have we renovated. Where are the boreholes? What have you done with the transformers that you say you have bought? These roads that you have built, how many communities does it go around? So those kind of questions informed us that we need to give the society data. And we need to listen from them as well. what is it that this particular environment requires? Are there farmers in this area that we need to take care of, and what do we need to do in terms of letting them get their crops out of their farmlands? How many communities are in a particular area such that one road will be able to? So all this we have been able to put on the open data portal, and people are using it, that kind of information. They are critiquing the government, they're giving us feedback, and so we're now beginning to have dialogue with the citizenry. They don't have to have a face, or they don't have to have the governor's phone number to be able to give their feedback. And you know, it's a new step. We are trying to make sure that the data we are putting on the portal are as factual as possible, and in so doing, you know, we're taking steps gradually to feed in, you know, the data, you know, so that it doesn't cause any political feud in the future, or you know, any issues later on.
Okay, I mean, amazing. It does seem as if you're doing quite a lot of initiatives.
Yes,
education, you talked about agriculture, you talked about internally generated revenue, many areas. It would seem to me, though, that these might be things that are currently ongoing.
Yes.
Are we at that point yet where the average citizen in Edo State is feeling the impact of these IT-enabled initiatives, or are we going to have to wait a while before we actually see these things begin to happen?
Well, for the different sectors, the impact has been different. In some, for instance, I talked about education.
Yes.
Now we haven't begun to feel that impact yet.
Okay.
We are just in
early days
of it. Health, we're focusing on the schools of health, schools of midwifery, because we believe that we need to. Once we address the issues of the ones that are in and are coming out, it will filter into the ministry. And don't forget that we have a major issue with challenge with broadband and infrastructure. You know, technology is not easy; it's very costly to. It's a cost consuming investment, and so. In as much as we are trying to cover as much as possible, we are trying to also narrow so that the effects will be felt sooner than later. But what we are doing really is for the long haul. Basically, you know, the Oracle implementation that we started 3 years ago, or 2.5 years ago, is only just giving us its benefits now. So it's not as if we are gaining the benefits right now, or the people on the streets are seeing the benefits, as it were. But slowly but surely, we're getting there.
Interesting. Okay, so that again speaks to the key inhibitors that you may have encountered. Because one of the things you talked about was the cost-intensive nature, capital-intensive nature of technology. The other one is just maybe the change management issues that have to do with people, you know, adopting the things that government is doing. You talked about your portals to enable more information. What other kind of inhibitors are you encountering in this whole engagement, in this whole process?
One of the key things challenges that we encountered and are still encountering is the issue of technology skills. The human resource aspects. We had decided to take a different approach. And in doing that, the agency started with about 2 to 20 to 40. Then we took a leap to 500. So we're about 800 right now. And what we're doing is developing human skills. I'm proud to say that, you know, Uniben comes to poach from us. You know, the Guinnesses come to poach from us. So we're developing an economy and a hub where you can come in and look for technology skills. A lot of them learn on the job, and we also give them training, as it were. We're partnering with the Cisco's, Microsoft's, We are appealing to, we're negotiating now with PwC to do internships, with HP to do internships, so that we have very good technical skills coming out of Edo State. And in the end, we want other states and other companies, private sectors, come and start poaching from the state. It aids our economic development and it eases off on our unemployment. And you're giving people what to use for their tomorrow. So that is the kind of approach that we have used in addressing the issue of unemployment, or the issue of human resource and technology skills. Knowledge transfer is not easy. It has taken about 2.5 years for us to upskill them to where they are. A lot of them are youthful and are eager, so you would find that we are also using that as an avenue to transform the culture in the civil service, such that the young ones that are eligible are being absorbed into the civil service. There's no structure yet. Civil service scheme for ICT. The minister is only just trying to put that in place. And once they agree between the HOS and the minister, then we will be able to adopt. But in the state level, we are trying to do that. We have prepared a scheme of service that is waiting for approval. So the governor has set up a team to look at it. And if we can't wait, we will go ahead. And maybe the federal will take a cue from what we're doing. So that was one of the challenges. You talked about change management. Yes, we faced that. But what we used to mitigate the issue of change management was the leadership. So when people saw that this is not something that will come and go tomorrow, right, it is here to stay, and the governor says, you must do this. You must accept them. You must go in through the Oracle system for any procurements you are doing in the state government, for the payroll. So we are institutionalizing those processes, and they've begun to accept the changes. And so one of the key things really is leadership in the success of adopting technology. Okay, so
it's clear from what you've said that technology seems to have played a very central role in the development of your state today.
Yes, it is.
What does the future hold? What can we expect to see 3 years, 5 years from now?
3 years, 5 years from now, our strategic plan is to 2020, really. And we want to be able to integrate all the applications that we have put together. So you have, like in Rwanda, you're working with technology. Technology is being used in all aspects of all sectors. We're in December now, we want to have an event around agriculture. And we're looking at how technology will play a part in agriculture. And so the future for us in Edo State, God willing, would be for us to integrate and have a wholesome information technology run environment. We're hoping that in another 2-3 years, we would have attracted enough investment to be able to have your voice over IP and your broadband infrastructure available as a commodity, available in the rural areas, available to the e-wallets, the farmers, commerce, doing their commerce. So we have long-term plans for all these strategies. So what we have started with, we will package and then have an integrated running technology state.
Excellent. Very interesting. I think we've had Yemi Keri, the MD CEO of the ICT agency at Edo State, come and tell us a bit about what the state is doing to use technology to transform governance. Just giving us very tangible and very significant examples of how the government is trying to embed technology into governance and thereby transform the lives of the citizens and the establishments. Thank you so much. It's been very interesting. We wish you all the best in your endeavors. We hope that 3 years from now, as you've said, we will have this integrated, wholesome, this example, shining example of electronic governance in Africa. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for joining us. God bless you.